Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a great day. I wanted to do a quick tutorial about how we as a church are currently doing worship for our online experience. Like so many, we had to basically figure out how to do that back in March when the world went on lockdown. And so we've gone through several iterations of this, but where we're at right now, people seem to be really loving, and so we wanted to give a quick tutorial of how we're accomplishing this on a week-to-week basis, so that if you're a church in need and you like this style, maybe you can implement some of these tricks and techniques to up in your online experience and making that an experience that people will want to tune in for, because it's a unique season, it's a hard season, but we want to continue doing good ministry in the best way possible. So we're going to dive into the edit and talk a little bit about how we are accomplishing what we're putting out on Sunday mornings for the online experience. So first things first, you need to know that we are doing this music video style, which means the audio is pre-recorded, and then we play back that audio to the musicians and the singers, the worship leaders, so that they can hear themselves as they go throughout the process. And so what you are seeing is hearing them sing back to the worship experience. That does a couple things. It allows for them to worship freely without thinking about the audio necessarily. If they make a mistake, we can go back and fix it. They are able to be in the moment and provide the best worship experience for themselves in that moment, as well as to translate later online. So what we do is we do two takes. We do one with all kind of wide shots, and then we do another that has more close-up shots. And so I'm gonna lay this out for you guys in the timeline, how we kind of edit it, the process that we go through, so that you can see that, so that it makes sense, and that hopefully you and your church can maybe implement some of these things if you want to. So what we're gonna do is we're going to create a new project. We're gonna label this, do project here, and Glorious Day, because that is the song that we're going to be editing. So we'll go here, and then song 2, that is the song. We have our audio here, and what we do is we get a very rough mix from the audio live. Then Zach will take the audio and do his magic to it, and then we'll sync them back up later. So what I'm editing with is the very raw version. It doesn't sound as good as it will sound on a Sunday morning, but it's good enough to help the edit flow. So I have the click track there, and that's kind of how I align everything. So here's our audio. I'm gonna command click that. I'm gonna go up here to this first clip of Rhett. He's the main worship leader, so we'll start with that. And then we go to clips, synchronize clips, and we're gonna call this Glorious C1, camera 1. Disable audio from the AV clip. So what that does is just pulls out the camera audio and allows just for the good audio to be there. Give that a second to do its thing. I'll bring in this clip of Red. I'll bring it up to where on the timeline to where we can kind of see. Okay, so that clip's good. This is gonna be a song where we mesh them together later on in post. I'll show you how to do that as well. But that's good. So from here, we're going to, turn that back down. We are going to go back to song 3. Oh, song 2, sorry. Grab the second clip. And this is from our second take. We're going to sync those up. And so we'll do that, and I'm gonna speed through this part because it's basically the same thing over and over and over. One good thing to do that'll save yourself some time is I go ahead and set my exposure early on in the process. That way I'm not trying to do that later on for each individual cut. So I set my exposure there. I want my blacks to be at 0 right here. You want those to be around 0. You want them to be true black. And then anything that's supposed to be white needs to be at 100. So in this frame, this is really the only thing that's white. It's got some lights on it. His guitar's not, his skin tone's not. So there's not a lot of white in the image. And so I'm just gonna take up this right here just a touch to where it's got the white. You don't want to go much beyond that because it's going to blow it out and you're going to lose some detail. So I'm going to do the same thing for this one. Set that exposure. You want his shirt to be black. You want those lines on the mic to be white, pure white. And now I'm going to line these up. They're pretty close, but they're not exact. Looks like this is just a touch ahead, so I'm gonna jump that back.
1, 2, 3, 4.
One thing to note is that sometimes in this, they won't line up exactly perfectly. It'll be like the beat, if the beat is here, it'll be like just on this side or just on that side. And you kind of just have to play with it to get the best of both worlds, to make it sound like it's perfectly in sync, and no one's really going to notice come time if they're watching this on their TVs at home or on their computers at home. And so I just try to do that as best as I can. Do it for this one. Now this is a moving camera. We get 2 rounds of this. So this is me on a Ronin with Sony a7S II and a 100mm lens on there, so this will be a lot tighter shots. The side profile shots, those kind of things, will all be on from that camera. So I'm gonna sync that up. These next clips are from Luke. He is also on a Ronin Sony a7S II, but he's shooting on usually a 28 or 50, so he's got a much wider range of view, and his clips look really, really good. And so we're gonna sync those up. He has a little bit different perspective than the 100mm gives, and so we'll sync those up as well. We have a few more of these, and then we'll get into the edit. So we have our cameras in place. Now the last one is the most challenging, and that's the GoPro. So the GoPro is the hardest one to sync back up because the computer really can't hear the click because it's not going anywhere. Can't hear voices to sync those back up, and so it has a really hard time. So I usually have to end up doing the GoPro by hand. So I'll do that really quickly. 3. Looks pretty good. So the first thing I do to the GoPro footage is I drop the saturation by 50%. I change the exposure. And you usually have to up it. The problem with this is these lights in this drum cage are really blowing out this area and really underexposing this area. It's sort of a bad setup lighting wise, but it is what it is, and that's just how it is. Now, one thing to note, if you are working with LED lights, if you drop the LED below 100%, you're gonna have some major sort of banding issues. You're gonna have some major lines going down. I'll show you a quick example of that. Here is a video that we did the other day. Actually, I'm gonna turn the volume off because you don't need to hear that, but I'll skip forward. This is, I was not paying attention and I didn't notice the LED lights. There's an LED over here in this area that is blinking like crazy. And the reason for that is that the LED is refreshing the light rate at a different speed at which the camera refreshes, and so it causes crazy. In a gym, if you have dimmable lights in your gym that are the LED bulbs or whatever, you're gonna run into this major issue. But there's a plug-in from Digital Anarchy that fixes this-ish. It does a really good job, but kept us from having to reshoot it. So here's before. You can see it's up there. It's all over his head area. You can see that really strongly. But then after the Digital Anarchy and obviously some color grading, it's still there, but it's definitely not as strong. So before, after, before, after. It's not in his face because his face was like, it was going crazy. So just keep that in mind if you're working with LED lights. Make sure that you're not getting those lines that scrolling going across. All right. So here is the GoPro shot. We've got it exposed. One thing that I do is I like to be able to see all of my shots together. I like to be able to watch them flow. That's one reason I use Proxies. If you have 8 4K files going at once, most computers can't run that. So create Proxies, you'll be able to see this. And what we do to do that is once they're all synced up, I go through and I start decreasing the size of the video to 30%. And basically I create my own multicam. So decrease this to 30%, hit enter, and there's drums right there. We're gonna move that one right there. This shot here, I did not expose that one. Remember I told you to expose it? I forgot to do that. Get that exposed correctly. I'm not gonna drop that too much. And there we go. So now this one, I'm gonna take and drop it to 30%. And I think that's from camera 3, take 2. So I'm gonna put it right here. I also forgot to expose this one correctly, so right there is good. Now, there's a reason for this breakdown. When you look at the screen, I told you earlier that we do 2 takes of this. And so the first 5 up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all from take 1. So I know, let's say I'm on red at, let's see, let's get a shot where they're both on red, right here. Right there. So I know that this shot and this shot are going to match with what he's doing. Sometimes when you're doing a music video style, one time their hands will be up, sometimes their hands will be down, and you don't want that break in continuity. And so if I'm using a shot from here to here, and if I'm using a shot from 1 and 2 and I want to switch between red, I know I'm not going to jump from this shot here down to this shot here directly unless he's doing something very, very similar. I'm going to use a shot of the drums, or I'm going to use a shot of an instrument, or I'm going to use a different angle to get me from there to there so that you don't see that continuity break. These 3 cameras are from take 2, these 5 up here are from take 1. And so this is always going to line up, these are always going to match with what people are doing. So as I kind of go through, what I do is I watch the videos to see where I want to start. And I know I want to start right here with this shot of Bobby because I really like that drums. And then I'm going to cut to Zach because he's happy, he's playing. Oop, it moved. I'll go to the drums there. So this angle allows me to see everything at once. I can see every camera angle, and what I do is I sort of make notes in my head as I want to cut here, 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 because there's good shots, or I really like the way that turned out, or it'd be good to flow from here to here, or this part of the song really emphasizes that instrument, and so I like to use that as a way to bounce from area to area and cut to cut. So once I've watched the entire video, I will duplicate the project, bring everything back up to 100, and then I will start making my cuts for how the video is going to flow together. This is just one way to do the music video style production, but it's been good to us. It helps us turn things around rather quickly. And I hope this video has been helpful to you. The back end of this is just, I'm going to give you a time lapse of me cutting the whole thing together and color grading it. If you have any more questions about this or about the post-production process of the audio side with Zach, or even the pre-production process and the filming process of this, let us know. We just wanted to do this for fun, and hopefully this is helpful to you, helpful for your church. Thanks so much for watching.